Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel. Today we are going to be checking out the presentation and performance of Starfield running on our brand new SAPPHIRE NITRO RX 7800 XT graphics card at a native 1440p resolution alongside the game's ultra quality preset. As always, all the footage in this video was recorded using AMD Relive, and our performance overlay was provided by Rivertuner Statistics server. Now, right off the bat, I do want to point out that Starfield is a deceptively heavy game to get running well. I say deceptively because whilst most of the graphical costs can be explained and accounted for, there's no denying that the game's presentation is, well, kind of all over the place. Some scenes look legitimately impressive, with highly detailed assets combining with decent lighting and interesting environmental design to produce a very visually pleasing final image. However, as soon as one or two of these elements start to fall flat, it's instantly noticeable and the game starts to take on this very dated appearance, more so than what we're used to seeing in most modern titles. I believe that this higher than usual variance in terms of graphical presentation mostly comes down to the simple fact that Starfield isn't all that ambitious from a rendering tech perspective, and instead relies on pushing the limits of some relatively simple techniques in order to produce a visually pleasing image. Unfortunately, when those limits are reached and exposed, it's incredibly obvious to the point where it does manage to pull down the entire presentation. Though, thankfully, I personally found the presentation to be more than good enough to get the job done, and in the context of the type of game that this is, I'd actually say that it's a lot better looking than what I was personally expecting. Despite its rather limited rendering tech, the game actually makes use of a huge number of dynamic shadow casting lights. It's got a dynamic time of day system and lots of post-processing tricks, and even the individual assets themselves are often of an extremely high quality. I mean, sure, there is an argument to be made that some of these elements are borderline wasteful in terms of the overall presentation to performance ratio, but I would be lying if I was to say that I didn't regularly stumble across areas that left me pleasantly surprised presentation-wise, even if there were equally as many moments where I found the visuals to be pretty underwhelming. I think how much you're going to be impressed by the game in terms of its systems, gameplay and visuals is really going to come down to your own expectations going into the game. By no means is Starfield a cutting-edge graphical masterpiece, and many of its systems and mechanics are pretty stiff and dated compared to most modern releases, but it's a Bethesda RPG, and it does the whole Bethesda RPG thing about as well as what you would expect had you played some of their previous works. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say that in terms of its polish and presentation, that this base game has managed to exceed my own personal expectations, and there's a decent possibility that this could be considered the least broken / janky game that Bethesda has ever put out on day one. I mean, that's not to say that it's completely jank free, I mean, not even close, but considering both its scale and scope as well as Bethesda's previous track record, Starfield is off to a pretty solid start. Now, since this is a Bethesda RPG, there's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be a healthy modding scene that's going to end up adapting a lot of the game's systems and visual makeup, so it's kinda counterproductive to quote-unquote review the game in terms of its presentation on PC, since those that are happy with it are going to stick with the vanilla, and those that take issue with certain aspects of the presentation will most likely just use mods to bend the game to their will. Whilst there have been a few scenes where I have noticed a dip in performance, usually when there's a ton of depth of field on screen, I'd say that 99% of my playtime has had the performance hovering somewhere between 60 and 120 frames per second. Again, that's whilst at a 1440p resolution and whilst rocking the game's ultra quality graphics presets. Normally in these videos you would hear me say that I struggle to play first person shooters with anything less than around 100 frames per second. However, not only does Starfield tend to exhibit relatively low input latency, but I've also found that the vast majority of combat encounters tend to happen in locations where my frame rate is right about where I would want it to be, and even then, it's not like Starfield is particularly taxing in terms of the way that combat tends to play out. If you are after a little bit more performance, dropping down to the 67% resolution scale might be a good idea when using FSR2, which is effectively FSR2 quality mode. You're going to see a decent boost to performance without losing out on too much visually. Also, with the release of FSR3 and fluid motion frames on the horizon, hopefully things are only going to go and improve further going forward. Honestly, with the launch of these new graphics cards, I've not been able to put anywhere near as much time into Starfield as I was hoping, but that does mean that I have managed to gather plenty of footage from various other games that I will hopefully be showing off on this channel over the coming days and weeks, so please do slap that subscribe button if that's something that you're interested in seeing. For now though, that is going to be me done for today, so from myself and everybody here at the Sapphire Tech YouTube channel, thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. If there's any other games that you would like to see running on the SAPPHIRE Nitro Plus RX 7800 XT graphics card, then please do let me know in the comment section down below, and if I get a chance I'll try and check them out soon. For now though, thanks again for watching, and until next time, we'll catch you later, bye bye.